Welcome to the Driven Stone Podcast, podcast for two friends, raise a glass, and have a conversation. I'm Nick.
I am Kyle.
Cool. Hey, buddy, how's it going?
It's going pretty well. How is it going for you?
It's going well as well.
Awesome. Well as well.
Well as well. Hey. You want to drink something?
Yeah, always, man.
Okay, good, because I got something for us.
By God, if it is any more nasty shit. Oh, we can't do that. It's going to be prior.
Have we got an episode for you next week?
Gives me nightmares just thinking about what you're going to have me drink.
This is a bottle that I recently purchased. You purchased a bottle in the last couple months, too. We did it off the pod.
Yep.
And I was like, wow, okay.
Yeah.
And I purchased this bottle because of that experience, and it was a really good price.
Yep.
And so we're doing it. This is the WhistlePig PiggyBack 100% Rye.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good call, man.
Thanks. I've actually been really looking forward to this. Have we done a WhistlePig at all?
Don't think so.
I don't think we've ever done a WhistlePig.
I bought that Vermont bottle to do at some point in time, and they just never got around to it.
Okay.
But it's up to this point, I think it might be Farm Stock Series 3 or Year 3 or something like that, where it's their third time doing it. And each time...
Okay, then I think we've talked about it. If we haven't done it on the pod, we've talked about it.
Probably, yeah. Like each time it's a little bit more their product and less what they've been sourcing.
Right. So a couple things about this bottle is that it's made to fit in the hand extremely well. Like the people who decided on this bottle, primarily Dave Pickerel, who was a master distiller. He worked with WhistlePig. He worked with a bunch of other distilleries, kind of started some distilleries, found some distilleries. I think WhistlePig brought him in to like really ramp up WhistlePig.
Yep.
But this is kind of his baby.
Yep. It always blows my mind, like how many distilleries that man touched.
Yeah.
Obviously, like I think he got well known for when he was with Maker's Mark.
Yep.
But that dude,
he touched
Lord.
almost every aspect of the bourbon world.
Yeah.
In some way. Yeah. So Dave passed away in 2018.
Yep.
And this was kind of one of the last things that he really had a hand in, and it's a lot of people refer to it as Dave's baby because like he felt that this was a rye that was supposed to be like an everyday rye. Use this for everything. And he wanted to create a bottle that also fit well in the hand for bartenders. And like holding this bottle, it really like it fits well in the hand.
Ergonomic.
You can, I mean, it would fit well on a shelf. You can drop it in one of the well kind of areas. And it's just a really, I'm a sucker for a good bottle.
Yeah.
It's a really nice bottle.
Yeah, totally.
It's hefty, but I got some words for you.
Okay.
Our vision is to respect tradition, embrace progress, and bring friends together over the world's greatest rye whiskey. Dave Pickerel returned to our warehouse to realize his dream of creating the best aged rye whiskey for your cocktail. 100% rye for full spice flavors, aged 6 years for unprecedented complexity, and bottled at his ideal strength. Stir or shake in good company. So the idea is that this is really for cocktails. Like that's the purpose of this.
Right.
We're not going to put it in a cocktail.
No, that's not what we do.
We're going to drink it straight.
Yeah.
But 6 years, man, that's a pretty decent age statement.
Yeah, not bad at all.
And this is just shy of the $50 mark.
Yeah, it's from a WhistlePig product, which are mostly always around that $100 mark.
Yeah.
Or well higher.
Yes.
When they released this, I was super stoked. It's putting WhistlePig in your, more affordable range.
Absolutely. And I think they're going to find, at least I suspect they're going to find that people are going to be more apt to buy it because they see the WhistlePig name on something like this. And they're like, okay, it's WhistlePig, but it's half the cost or a fourth of the cost or something.
Yeah, like sometimes.
Yeah, I'm going to try that. That's what drew me to it.
Yep.
And so here we go. This is bottled at 96.56 proof.
Ideal proof.
Ideal proof. I love that it's
96.56. Yeah.
That specific. All right, here we go. There you go.
Good one.
There you are, sir.
Muchas gracias.
So while we've both had this, I'm interested to like actually dive into it. We just kind of like, hey, try this. Okay, good.
Yeah, that's really good.
Move
All
on.
right, I gotta go.
Yeah, it was kind of in passing.
Yeah.
So I'm really excited to see like what we get out of this.
When did you get it?
Right before Christmas.
Okay. This bottle ages really well.
Oh, does it?
Yeah.
Oh, good.
Yeah. I feel like each time I go back to mine,
Yeah.
I'm even more impressed.
Yeah.
Like this is delicious.
What do you got on the color?
It's pretty dark.
Yeah.
I mean, even looking at the bottle, it's like dark.
It's a darker whiskey. I mean, we've got spoiler, Kyle. We've got another whiskey on the table.
Indeed, we do.
This episode, there are going to be some spoilers in this episode. We'll talk about that later when we get to our topic. I mean, everyone has seen the topic already.
Yep.
Because they download the episode.
Right.
What you got on the nose?
Just the most delightful rye. I'm getting like some cherry. It's rye soaked with like cherry jam.
Yeah, I like that cherry jam because there's a sweet note in there.
Yeah.
That is like it's like a bright sweet. Mm-hmm. Like I don't think of like a jam as like a dark sorghum heavy like syrupy sweet like that.
Right.
But it's like a bright sweet, like a fresh sweet.
Fruit jam.
Yeah, but then mixed with that like beautiful spice note that you tend to get in a rye.
It's like such a sugar-filled rye.
Yeah.
Oh, just beautiful.
I could nose that all day.
Yeah.
That's delightful. All right. You going in?
Yep.
Do it. I dare you.
Incredible, man. For them to be putting it on the bottle, like this is meant for mixing.
Yeah.
I feel like it's like such a shame.
Right.
Because it's literally one of my favorite sippers right now.
Yeah, it is so good. I'm getting notes of vanilla. I'm getting notes of like this beautiful spicy back end that like it just coats your palate, but it's not like overwhelming spice. Mm-hmm. But there's a little bit of pepper notes in there. I mean, you get that this is rye. Like it is a 100% rye.
Right.
So I expect all those things, but the sweetness in there mellows it just enough.
Right. I get a lot of dark fruit, like almost like plum. Mm-hmm. Definitely like dark cherry, like just super red, ruby red apple.
Almost like just overripe fruit. Like
right. It's almost too sweet.
Yeah, we're almost there. We're almost too far gone. But like right, like the day before. Like, okay, if we don't eat these today, it's going to be mushy tomorrow. And as you take that second sip, as with most things, those flavors kind of tend to dissipate. And then you're able to pick more out. But I think the spicy intensifies. Mm-hmm. Like the more I'm sitting with it, just kind of like letting it, move around on my palate, the spicy intensifies, and that Kentucky hug or Vermont hug, I guess in this case.
Mm-hmm. I don't know where they're getting it. Might be a Canadian hug.
It's definitely. I think they're still sourcing all from Canada. I agree with you. It would feel disingenuous to mix this. Like,
I mean, I definitely think it would certainly sing.
Oh yeah,
in a Manhattan or something like that
for sure.
But at the same time, it's like, why? Why would you need to? Like, we're sitting out here on the back porch, nice cool night. You certainly don't need ice in it.
Nope.
This air's chilling it perfectly.
Yep.
Why would you ruin it? Why would you add anything to this that would alter it?
I mean, if I had someone who needed convincing that like, look, you're going to like a 100% rye, I wouldn't hesitate to put this in an old fashioned. So you get that rye old fashioned, and I think it's going to make everything pop, but only for that particular person.
Yeah. I mean, it's so interesting at this point in time to think about what that would be like.
Right.
Because, we did that. We've gone through that experience, and that was 3-4 years ago.
Yeah.
Where it was like introduction into rye. Whereas now, thinking of what it would be to get rye to pop out of like an old fashioned or something like that, because you're adding so much, I'd be worried.
Yeah.
I'd be worried that you're going to take all the beauty out of this and get overwhelmed by muddled fruit.
Sure. Yeah. Okay. Here's why I say this. And I've kind of been thinking about this lately, just in terms of whiskey journeys and things like that. Like we get comments from listeners of like, I'm just getting into this.
Right.
I'm just starting out. So I think, a lot of people in the whiskey world will do that. Like they will only do like, okay, nope, you should never mix this. You should never, put this in something.
Sure.
And what I'm saying is like, while I don't disagree with that, if I'm thinking about the new listener, the new person who's like brand new at rye or maybe brand new at whiskey,
right,
this would make an amazing old fashioned, because that's kind of the introduction to it.
Right.
Then when they're ready, like, okay, you know what? I'm not going to put in an old fashioned. Okay, you're going to have a great experience.
Right.
And here's why.
I can even remember, like, I think some of my first rye bottles were the Basil Hayden's.
Right.
The 2x2.
Sure.
The
dark rye.
Dark rye. And I feel like I even remember, like, at that early point in time, really genuinely not even be able to tell the difference between the bourbon and the rye.
Right.
Which, granted,
It's
with Basil Hayden's, it's probably like 51% rye.
Right.
There's probably, just because they're 80 proofs, the flavor's probably not that pronounced anyway.
Yeah.
But, you know, something like this where, like, I don't know how you don't like it, because it's not aggressive anywhere. It's just really friendly, really sweet.
Yep.
And it just gives you the best parts of the rye.
I honestly, like, this has been out for a little bit.
Yeah, a couple of years.
I honestly, though, think that this is kind of a sleeper rye. Like, I think people are going to, in the next year, maybe 2, you're going to see more people seeking this out and like, hey, whoa.
Yeah.
We a $50 WhistlePig? Nah, that can't be good.
Right.
But, like, it's 100% rye. You get all those beautiful rye notes.
Right.
It's just under 100 proof, so you're still picking up some proof points here. You're getting some spiciness. It can hold up to any cocktail. You get all those flavor notes. It has just enough sweet. This is impressive.
Yeah, and you know, it's not a common thing in most ryes for it to be 100% rye.
No, it really isn't.
You know, like, that's not that common of a thing to see. So, to one that's this good, this affordable,
Yeah.
get over yourself. Like, it's amazing.
It's amazing. It deserves a spot on any shelf. I really, truly believe that.
Yeah.
Like, and I love ryes. I would say I probably will gravitate toward a rye even more than a bourbon here lately.
No kidding.
Oh, yeah. And this deserves a spot on any shelf.
Sure.
Absolutely. All right, man. Now that we've got a great drink.
Yeah.
What do you want to talk about this week?
Man, we've got to talk about the movie
Yeah.
that everybody has seen, Spider-Man.
Ooh.
No Way Fucking Home.
Is that the actual title?
Yes.
I didn't see the fucking, but okay.
Well,
I
it's like
believe
how in the trailer,
Yeah.
you know, it was Scooby-Doo that crap.
Oh,
but
yeah.
in the movie, it was Scooby-Doo that shit.
Yeah.
It's like that.
I appreciate that.
I did too.
Did we just spoil it already?
Yeah.
Damn it. All right.
It's not a huge spoiler, but nonetheless.
Nonetheless. Okay. With that being said,
Yep.
I want to have this conversation.
Yep. Full out.
Yeah. So because I want to have this full out conversation, spoilers ahead.
Yep.
There's
spoilers ahead.
Honestly, like, we could dance around talking about spoilers, but
Well, in all honesty, like, if you haven't seen this movie, then you're not going to see this movie. Because anybody that's
Very
wanted
good
to
point.
see this movie has seen this movie.
And probably twice at this point.
I've seen it twice.
Yeah, I know you've seen it twice. I have not. I would. I'd go right back in and watch it.
It's amazing.
Yeah, it really, honestly, is that good.
Yep.
So, if you have yet to see Spider-Man No Way Home, and you are someone that wants to see Spider-Man No Way Home, you know, maybe holidays have gotten in the way. Maybe, you know, something's happened.
Adorable.
You know, things have, you know, not worked out in your favor. I totally get it.
Yeah.
Pause this episode.
Right.
And I say pause because I don't want you to stop it. You're going to come back to it.
Yeah. Pause it.
And then come back.
Go watch it.
Yep.
On the way home, stop. Get your bottle of piggyback. Come on home.
Correct.
Pour yourself a glass, and then push play.
And
Go.
all right. So everybody else, or welcome back. One of the two.
Yeah. Or both.
Or both. Spoilers definitely ahead is what we're trying to say.
Yep.
Where do we start, Kyle?
Where do
Holy
we start
crap.
with this movie?
Did you like it? Let's start there.
I loved it.
I did too.
This was the rare gem of a movie that I had a lot of expectations for.
Yep.
And every single one of them was exceeded.
I have been on record multiple times of talking about my Marvel fatigue.
Yep.
I mean, we did an episode on Shang-Chi just a little while ago.
Yep.
And this solely, if I had not seen anything else, has, like, first of all, blew my mind.
Yep.
And invigorated that, like, this is possible. Like, look
Right.
how good, like, it invigorated, like, look how good these movies could be.
Right.
And I'm not saying, like, the rest of them are terrible
No.
by any means, but they kind of pale in comparison with what you said about that expectation.
Right.
Here's the expectation, and you just blew it out of the water.
Yep.
And I don't say that lightly.
No, for sure you don't. But, like, you know, to have a movie that is so highly anticipated, the rumors of this movie have been cranking for well over 2 years now.
Oh, yeah.
The expectation that there was going to be the Trinity of Spider-Man
Right.
in this movie. And for them to skirt that issue for as long as they did and to still pay off
Yeah.
like they did
and not have Tom Holland ruined it
is phenomenal.
It really, truly is.
Incredible.
What we're talking about is they bring back the previous 2 iterations of Spider-Man.
Yep.
You have Andrew Garfield and you have Tobey Maguire.
Yep.
And like, this is nostalgia, 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 nostalgia.
Yep. Fan service galore.
Absolutely. Especially for someone of our age.
Yeah.
Who like were primed for that first Spider-Man, Tobey Maguire.
Yep.
And I think that this could very easily go from fan service into Star Wars territory.
Yep.
And what I mean by that is like, you took fan service and you just beat us over the head with everything you thought we wanted.
I look at The Rise of Skywalker, of this movie that it teased you so hard with fan service.
Mm-hmm.
And every bit of that fan service in that movie feels like none of it was done with the intention of improving that story arc.
Absolutely.
And the characters of the movie that we're supposed to be seeing, which is Rey and Poe and Finn, all of it was just done to provide you that fan service moment of like, hey, here's Lando.
Right.
Hey, here's the Emperor. Like, none of it had anything to do with the story that is supposed to be told. Where this movie took all that same glorious, just sweaty fan service, but used it in a way that elevated the story that we're here to see, which is Tom Holland and Zendaya and Ned.
Right.
And it made it so much better.
And that
all
is,
of it.
That's such a good point, because that is fan service at its best. It's, I'm going to, hit all the nostalgia spots.
Yep.
And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to use that nostalgia to forward my story.
Right.
I mean, it's what Ready Player One did so well. It's using that nostalgia to now create a new story.
Right.
And I'm thinking more of the book. Like, I think the film was fine. We saw it together. The film was fine. But I'm thinking like the book just leaned into all that 80s and early 90s nostalgia and just went with it and created something new. And that's what I think Spider-Man No Way Home does so well.
Right.
I'm going to give you Andrew Garfield. I'm going to give you Tobey Maguire and their individual Spider-Man mans. I think they made it a point, like Spider-Mans.
Mans.
Yeah, I think Tom Holland Spider-Man said that. Spider-Mans Unite or something. I forget how he says it.
Right.
But the point is, like, they use each of those individually. They feel like individual Spider-Mans.
Right.
And they use it to forward the plot.
Right. Do you care if I reference Ghostbusters?
I'm okay.
Okay. Like, I felt like, another big nostalgia bait movie that came out this year was the Ghostbusters Afterlife.
Yeah, Afterlife.
The way that they use nostalgia in that movie.
Mm-hmm.
The movie does a fantastic job of introducing this new story arc. And then the way that they use the old mythos,
right,
is just the exact same way that it's used in The Rise of Skywalker, but just on a much lower scale.
Sure.
They don't use it in any way to improve these characters and their arc. It's just thrown in and just haphazardly, here's some stuff to make you smile. It's not something that's used to improve your experience of this story.
That's something that I feel like Marvel has understood almost the entire time, because that's what they're really dealing with. Is they're dealing with this set of nostalgia of, maybe initially comic book nerds, but then as the viewer, the non-sweaty comic book nerd kind of viewer has gotten more and more and more into the movies, is that now they can capitalize on this nostalgia and they can use it. And that is something that Marvel does almost better than anybody, because they're pinpointing, okay, they're going to get the rise out of this when this character says this. And now, I mean, that's why they teased Avengers Assemble for so long.
Right.
And then when you get it, it's like,
right,
because you expect it. So they're like using that bit of nostalgia to ultimately amp everything up.
Sure. And, in game, when we're given these moments of when everybody's coming back and it's just shots of heroes.
Right.
And, and everybody's just like losing their minds. That's the reward and the payoff that's been done throughout the whole MCU.
Because you set it up.
Because you set it up, and it's one big arc.
Right.
So it makes sense. Whereas, with Spider-Man, they bring in these elements, ironically, in the exact same way through a wizard portal. And the reaction is not just, we're not just giving you shots of Andrew Garfield and Tobey Maguire. You get full-on character development.
An interaction. Yeah.
An interaction so that it's a continuation from their story arcs from before. The fact that they pulled that off is just incredible to me.
Yeah. The conceit of the film is that from Mysterio, Peter Parker's identity has been revealed to the world.
Right.
And that was at the end of Homecoming 2 Electric Boogaloo. And
Yes.
What was it called?
Far From Home.
Far From Home. That was at the end of Far From Home. So now you pick up with the story of now Peter Parker has to deal with these ramifications of everybody knows who Spider-Man is, and did you kill Mysterio?
It's not just the fact that it's ruining his life. It's affecting everybody that he cares about.
Right.
And that's what's frustrating for him. It's like he can take it on. This is my business. This is, great power, great responsibility. But for my friends and family that have done nothing for it to affect them is not fair.
Right. And so what then ultimately happens is he goes to Stephen Strange and he says, hey, Mr. Strange, can I...
the fact that you just called him Stephen Strange is odd.
He goes to Doctor Strange.
But I'll allow it.
Okay, thank you. He goes to Doctor Strange. Sound better?
Mm-hmm.
Thanks. And he says, what can I do? Like, how can we reverse this so that nobody knows? And Doctor Strange is like, gotcha, kid. Like, we'll do that. And then he starts to kind of add to this spell, essentially, and it just totally screws with everything.
Sure.
Because he's trying to, MJ has to know, and Ned has to know,
yep,
and Happy has to know,
yep,
Aunt May has to know. And by the time all those get screwed up, essentially what he does is opens a rift in the multiverse.
Right.
Then
he yells out the line, like, anybody who knew that Peter Parker was Spider-Man should no longer know, or something to that effect.
Right.
And so it starts to grab people throughout the multiverse who know that Peter Parker is Spider-Man.
Right. And bring those people, the villains, ostensibly, into...
Well, and the Spider-Man.
And the Spider-Man, yeah. Into this new, or this current universe.
Right. The MCU.
Right. And so, that's the conceit. And now our Tom Holland Spider-Man has to deal with all of that.
Right.
He has to shoulder this burden of, okay, not only does everybody know Spider-Man is Peter Parker, now I've got these new villains that I have to worry about too.
Right.
So what this does to me, just to kind of wrap up the plot so far.
Right.
What this enables Marvel to do is to tie up some loose ends with the Tobey Maguire, to tie up some loose ends with the Andrew Garfield, and to kind of, if they wanted to, put a bow on the Tom Holland Spider-Man.
Yeah.
And it does this in a way that you feel satisfied. You want more because you want more.
Right.
We love these movies. We want more anyway. But it does this in a way that is satisfying to nearly every viewer. Like, you know what? I feel complete in this story. Right. I'm good. And that, to do that of I'm good and I need more, brilliant.
Yeah. Anybody that follows any kind of comic book news or entertainment, you've seen that on the other side of this movie, everybody is just clamoring, I need more Andrew Garfield Spider-Man. I need more Tobey Maguire Spider-Man. So Sony's options now are just endless.
They really are.
With what they want to do. And I think that's an interesting point that I want to talk about later.
But
we're going to have some more rye.
You sound so
right?
Yeah.
Okay. I want to have some more rye whiskey.
Okay. So because you want to have some more rye whiskey, I think what we should do is pair the PiggyBack Rye with an old favorite and a pretty tried and true rye, the Wild Turkey 101 Rye. What you think?
Deal.
Okay.
It's gonna be. That should be interesting.
Okay, so why we're pairing the 101 rye is because it's a pretty standard rye. Find it anywhere. The 101 rye is not 100% rye, though, correct?
Yeah, I think it's 51.
It's actually a little bit higher proof than the PiggyBack, so I figured that this would be a good pairing.
Yeah, it's pretty fair.
Okay.
Adds a little bit more proof, but you're losing a little bit of rye.
Sure. So like we do, we want to go back to the PiggyBack for a second and then jump to the 101?
Yep.
Just give it a little sniffy sniff and a little sippy sip.
Yep.
Still good.
Amazing. I mean, literally.
It's up there, man.
Give me a better rye.
All right, on the 101, on the nose. Definitely not as much rye.
No, definitely more bourbony.
For sure. It's sweeter and it's way more mellow.
Dusty and peanuts and turkey.
All right, going in.
Just damn delightful.
Yeah, it really is. It's way friendly.
It's the turkey finish that I love so much about turkey products. It's that kind of dusty, nutty, little wood bitter, just a dash.
Yep.
That just hits on every gooey spot that I've got.
And while the palate has little spice, I enjoy the spice out of this. Like it's just enough. It's like, hey.
Well, and I think that's intensified by the proof.
Oh yeah,
You know?
yeah.
That 101 pops right there with that little touch of rye.
I would be really interested to see what a 100% Wild Turkey 101 rye would be. I really would.
Yeah.
That's tough because like the 101 rye is damn delightful.
Yeah.
It's great. I would say that like if I had to choose one of these pours, I'm going to go with the piggyback because of the 100% rye and because it just gives you a little more to think about.
See, I feel like the 101 gives you a little bit more to think about.
You think?
But it's because it just adds in more bourbony things.
Okay.
So it would depend on, if I'm looking for a rye, I would take the piggyback over the 101 just for the rye sake.
Right.
It's the better rye. Individually, I think the 101 gives you a little bit more to think about just because I think there's a little bit more complexity within the flavors. But man, splitting hairs.
Yeah,
in
no,
terms
for sure.
of like, what would you rather have a pour of?
And you just made a good point. Like when I want a rye, I want a rye. And
Yeah.
the piggyback is a rye.
rye. Yeah.
So like that's hitting the right spots for that.
Right.
The right spots. Did you get that? Thanks.
It's almost strange to me that people do the 51%, where it's like, I get it. Like, you're easing into it, but like, go ahead and give me the full 100% rye.
Yeah. Give me a rye.
If I want to mix them myself, then I can do that.
Sure.
Like, I totally agree. Like, I'd be really interested to see what a 101, 100 rye tastes like. And at the same time, I'd be kind of interested to see what a piggyback at 101 tastes like.
Yeah.
Throw a little bit more proof on that.
That's not the ideal proof.
It's
not the ideal proof, though.
Yeah, it's not 96.96555 repeating.
Correct. Need some high level.
I'll give you that, Dave Pickerel, but I'm just saying I'd be curious.
Yeah, both are delicious. If I'm going rye, I'm going the piggyback here.
Yep, it's the better rye.
Yep. All right, back to Spider-Man.
Spider-Man. One of the things that I found incredibly like 3D chess, 4D chess kind of thing, the way that Marvel plays with your head now, is that you can't really watch the trailers anymore and really give them too much credit.
That's why I don't watch trailers.
Well, nowadays, they started doing this all the way back with like Infinity War. I can remember specifically, and there's probably instances before that where they're giving you shots and dialogue and stuff, which trailers have always done. They've always kind of like reorganized stuff and like clipped together different scenes where this person looks like they're talking to this person, but that's not really the conversation. They've always done that, but Marvel actually does it where they actually change dialogue or remove things that were from the trailer that don't appear in the movie. And it completely affects the way that you perceive how the story is going to go, so that when you're actually in the theater watching it, you're having to interpret it in the moment, because now you're coming at it thinking this was how it was going to go, and then it's a complete shift. And I think it's brilliant. Like I think it's so smart, because it makes it so that you don't have to be kind of too fearful of the trailer, of being shown too much and seen too much, which has been a negative, especially for the Sony Spider-Man movies in the past. Like, that was a huge criticism of the last Andrew Garfield Spider-Man, was that the trailers showed you way too much. You knew the entire movie without having to go to the theater, and it pretty much was the case.
Yeah.
I think even Homecoming did that. I think it showed too much. So the fact that they've learned from that, and now they're like they totally just are legit, like just throwing you off in so many directions. Like, I was convinced going into this movie that this was not Doctor Strange. Something was wrong. Like, the way that he was acting in the trailers was so opposed to how he's acted in the other movies and stuff. Like, I was totally convinced he's either under a spell or this is somebody else pretending to be him, and that's going to be the big revelation at the end of the movie, is that it wasn't Doctor Strange, it was somebody else the whole time, and that's going to now lead into Multiverse of Madness. Instead, they give you the storyline in the movie that is just now fresh, and you have no lead-ins to it. And it's so freaking smart for them to do it that way.
I agree. Like, to have a good trailer, first of all, is an art form in and of itself.
Sure.
Because what you're doing as a trailer editor is you're taking these beats from the film and you're constructing something that people are going to gravitate towards and give them just enough of that is something I'm going to be interested in, but also not give them enough that reveals too much of the plot. And the beauty of this trailer specifically, and then how it ties into the film, is that it gives you everything you want.
Right.
And it's 90% wrong.
90% wrong, and you think you're getting everything you want, and you don't even realize that you're
getting so much more, right? You're getting
that you're
so
not
much
even
more.
anticipating.
They give you no plot. They give you like these little beats of like Green Goblin's grenades.
Yeah, first time I saw that Green Goblin bomb, dude, like I lost it.
Or Doc Ock, hello, Peter.
Yeah.
Like, oh!
Yeah.
You know, I mean, seriously.
And especially nowadays where you take something like that and you're going to have thousands and thousands of people breaking that down, trying to interpret it, giving their spin on it. They really don't have to do that much anymore, even though Marvel completely does. And,
right.
I'm sure they, are put so much time into these trailers and stuff. But like,
well, quickly,
people are going to do that on their own anyway.
That's it. Like when you have something that's this well done in terms of trailer leading into movie, like it makes it seem like it hasn't been done. And
right.
like, I mean, that's true of like anything that's difficult and amazing and we love and gravitate towards. It's flawless because it's so well done that it makes it seem as if this was just effortless.
Right.
And that is furthest from the truth.
Yeah, 100%.
It's one of the rare instances where I loved the trailer. And I think we've talked about that on the pod too. I love the trailer and I love the film and I love the pairing of them together.
Right.
Is there anything that you were, I don't want to say disappointed, but is there anything more you wanted out of this?
Personally, no.
Yeah.
Like I said, it exceeded my expectations. So I've seen it twice now. Second time was better than the first. First time was actually like in New York City, which was like sick
cool.
to like actually like see stuff that we had just gone and seen. Like the last scene where he's like over Rockefeller Center and we were just like, oh my God, we were just there. That was cool. But even seeing it a second time, you're able to pick up on more of like the dramatic beats, and you're not just like trying to watch it through that rush of adrenaline, and you're actually able to appreciate it even more. It's even better the second time.
Yeah.
So I think, with as pleased as I was, like, no, I don't think there was anything that I wish was handled better or anything.
I will agree wholeheartedly. Like, rarely do I come out of a movie going like, wow, I enjoyed every bit of that.
Right.
Or, wow, I would change nothing.
Right.
And this is one of those. Like, even the Uncle Ben, Aunt May kind of nod of where as she's dying, great responsibility.
I watched that in real time, and I'm like, brilliant.
Yeah. And I'm normally one of like, damn it. Like, really? Like, that jumped the shark. Like, you had to do that, but it was perfect.
But to me, like, we were so accepting of the fact that moment had already happened for this Peter.
Correct.
And so when it happened, it was like, holy shit.
Right.
They fooled us this whole time. We were thinking this whole time that it's already happened, and this is that moment for this Peter. Like,
brilliant.
Holy crap.
And that's what I'm saying. Like, I would not change a thing. Mm-mm. I mean, there a few holes. Like, there might be a few plot holes. Like, the only thing that stuck out to me, even while watching it, and I've read some things since, and some of them I'm like, okay, whatever. The only thing to me while watching it, the friend that writes the book, what's his name?
Flash Thompson.
Flash Thompson. So how Flash Thompson writes a book and isn't about being Peter's best friend and isn't then vilified for being Peter's best friend, but Ned and MJ are, okay.
Well, I mean, it's because it's bullshit.
And maybe people see through it, and maybe that's it too. But it's also like, okay, I can forgive you for that. Whatever.
Right.
I mean, even the small little plot holes, and people nitpick and pick this thing apart. I mean, you can go find a Spider-Man podcast and they'll nitpick the hell out of this. But
no, it'd be a DC podcast.
Sure.
Spider-Man podcast. No, they're gonna absolutely love it. Nitpicky. I'll say when Tobey Maguire gets stabbed, and then he's just cool with it.
Yeah. Okay.
Like, y'all just shouldn't have done that.
Well, that's the superhero thing.
Something should have happened there.
Hero thing of like,
either he should have died right there, or you shouldn't have just had him be stabbed, and then he's like, I get stabbed a lot. That was weird.
But then
and
Andrew
it
Garfield
seemed like it broke the tension in that moment of him staring into Tom Holland's eyes and be like, you don't have to do this.
Yeah. But I think that's the character though to me.
But it's like it's an action without consequence.
Sure.
It's like he gets stabbed and it's like I got stabbed and died and stopped you from making a horrible decision.
Correct.
So now it's more of that moment for him to be like, oh, that's no big deal.
Well, that would stop them from being able to resurrect the Tobey Maguire Spider-Man again.
100%. Well, I mean, not really, because
they could do
another variant,
right? But it shuts it down.
I totally
a little
agree.
Bit more.
But it just you created the tension in this moment.
Yeah.
So you think there's going to be consequences, and then it's just like completely wiped away.
But then it leads to such a good line of Andrew Garfield holding him, holding Tobey Maguire Spider-Man, and he's like, "You're in a lot of pain, aren't you?" And he's like, "So much pain." Yeah. Like it's funny.
Cool.
And like
that's what it's like being Spider-Man.
Like
just constantly in a lot of pain.
like the conversation between the two of them, the Andrew Garfield and Tobey Maguire about like, yeah, man, I just got this back thing and my back hurts, and like, Andrew Garfield like pops his back. Yeah. He's like, that was great. Like, that's such a Spider-Man moment.
Right.
And it's also like,
it's really meta too, because like in the second Tobey Maguire Spider-Man, he almost didn't do it because he had a back issue.
Yeah.
So it's like a throwback to that.
Right.
Because they made a joke about that in that movie.
Yeah.
Where his web's not working and he falls down and he gets up my back. Or no, at first he starts out, I am back, because he was having the issues, and then he falls down on my back.
Right. But it's just so funny that like they're playing with all of these things that we know, we love, and they're doing it so well, and they're forwarding the story. That's impressive. Kudos to them. It's great.
And I was never a huge, like, I was probably one of the people that like I didn't want the Amazing Spider-Man.
Right.
Tobey Maguire was my Spider-Man.
Correct.
I think the first Spider-Man came out on my birthday, because I've got that birthday that like Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness is going to come out on my birthday. Like, it's just like that first weekend in May.
Summer, right? Beginning of summer birthday.
Tobey Maguire was my Spider-Man. So when they ended that trilogy and they rebooted it, 2-3 years later, I was like,
I'm out.
I don't like it. I didn't care for the feel of it, the look of it. A few years later, when I went back and watched it, I was able to like really kind of appreciate of like, you know what? This dude's actually a really good Spider-Man. He was just in some crap movies, unfortunately.
Right.
But man, to see, like, I loved the freaking joke of like, dude, are you just gonna fight as a youth pastor, as a cool youth pastor, or are you gonna suit up? And he's like, and he flashes his suit. Motherfucker. Like, when I saw that suit, I'm like, God damn it, we're gonna see that suit again. Because to me, that is like that's still the best suit.
That is the best suit.
When it's in its full glory, and like the shot of the three of them swinging out now as a team and landing on the head of the Statue of Liberty, dude.
It's so good.
That's amazing. Like, that is cinema glory.
I agree.
And they all three land there, and they're like,
and you're like,
and you're just, you're 5 years old again.
And they have that conversation about like, we're all working solo because that's all we know,
right?
And then they work,
we don't know how to work as a team.
And you're like, oh, they're working as a team,
right?
Yeah, it's so good. Okay, let's end here. Can you set aside your Tobey Maguire nostalgia?
Probably not.
Of the three, who is the best Spider-Man?
The best Spider-Man?
Yep, not the best movies. Like, who for you represents the character and plays the character the best?
Not
Peter Parker, Spider-Man.
I think Andrew Garfield's probably the most accurate. The way he was given to portray Peter Parker, I don't think was the best, because he was like way too cool and attractive to be Peter Parker, for like people to not like you. Because like, dude, you're gorgeous
right.
and you're really funny, and like you can skateboard, and like there's no reason why you're not the coolest kid in school. But his Spider-Man, I think, was like the funniest and the most comic accurate to Spider-Man. And I think he actually, like, his tall, lanky build.
Yeah.
I think Tom Holland and Tobey Maguire are both too short. I think he was the best Spider-Man.
Okay. I think Tobey Maguire is the best Peter Parker. Because I for the same reason you think that Garfield's not the best Peter Parker, because he's awkward. I mean, I think it's also his acting. Like, he's not the best actor. So when you get him playing a Peter Parker who's awkward, who doesn't really know his way around people, like, I think he's just the best Peter Parker.
Right.
Tobey Maguire, he's not bad looking, but he was portrayed
very normal.
And he was way nerdier to begin with.
Right. He was too old.
I think so.
You know?
Yeah.
Like, never buy that anybody in that movie was in high school.
No, well, that's kind of a product of like the early 2000s anyway.
Yeah,
of like everybody who's playing high school is like 27.
Yeah.
But I feel like Spider-Man, I really like Tom Holland's Spider-Man.
Yeah.
I mean, I like the way he's snarky. He's super acrobatic. I don't know. I really like his Spider-Man.
I've had the conversation, like, going into this movie. So if you just don't count this movie, Tom Holland's appearances as Spider-Man, I don't feel like they lived up to Tobey Maguire's.
Okay.
I still felt like Tobey Maguire's, especially like in Spider-Man 2, the train scene with Doc Ock
so good.
Is to me still like at that point in time, the best visualization of Spider-Man using Spider-Man powers.
Right.
And like Spider crawling around that train and inside the train and using his webbing in unique ways. I felt like everything up until that point that Tom Holland had done was too Starky.
Right.
Everything was too technological.
Right.
Because I grew up with that Spider-Man, I thought it was cool that his webbing was organic.
Right.
And not something that he had to invent. But, you know, the Tom Holland for me was just like, because he had the Iron Spider suit and just all the tech from Stark, I was always a little bit of like, that's cool, but like, it's too much.
Well, that's them leaning into Tony Stark too. Like,
sure.
You know, you're leaning harder into your, central MCU character.
Absolutely. 100%. But like, to me, it was always like, I would love to see you be Spider-Man.
Sure.
Not Iron Spider.
Right. But I think that's like them, and to some degree still, even after this one, of like, this Spider-Man might be meant to pick up the mantle where Stark's gone. Not only because of the father figure kind of role, but also like you have the smarts, you know your way around all of this tech, you can make all these things work. So maybe they're setting it up to like, you're filling that role too.
It doesn't seem to me like they're going to use him as the Stark like glue. That right. Stark was funding everything, and Stark was the base of the Avengers. Spider-Man, I don't think really ever was in the comics either. He would like join in with the Avengers for certain things, but he was never like the central person. And I think it's brilliant that they ended it the way that they did, so that nobody knows who he is, and he doesn't have the tech anymore. Like, I mean, I guess technically he still has the Iron Spider suit, but I saw like a really cool like concept that like somebody was like, well, yeah, but he can't use it now because that knew him as Peter Parker. It'd be like trying to log into a computer that you don't know the password anymore. So he can't use it anymore because the system doesn't recognize him as Peter Parker. Like, that's super smart. Like, I love the way they ended it so that now he is Spider-Man. He's no longer the protege. He's no longer super equipped with all this Stark tech. He's just got to do it now. Like, it's like the premonition of like, if you're nothing with this suit, or if you're nothing without it, then you don't need it.
Right.
That's so freaking smart.
Yeah.
And it's just another one of those like, God, like, bravo that y'all put all this together.
Yeah.
I had the thought of to see Marvel slowly gaining back all of their properties from the different studios that had everything, because now that the MCU is such a massive success, and they've gotten back the X-Men and the Fantastic Four, and they're coming. We don't know how. We don't know how it's going to happen, but they're going to get there eventually.
Right.
When the Sony leak happened, when they were discussing recasting again after the second Amazing Spider-Man was such a flop, and it wasn't a financial flop, just a, I guess, expectational flop. There was the Sony leak that happened that basically said, this is what we're going to do. And had Disney played their cards right and not jumped in to help Sony save Spider-Man, they'd probably have Spider-Man by this point.
Right.
They probably would have gotten it back. Either they would have paid whatever they needed to get it from Sony, or Sony would have lapsed on whatever the agreement is and they would have had him back. We wouldn't have gotten obviously this movie. We wouldn't have had Spider-Man in Endgame and Infinity War and Civil War. So we would have lost a lot of amazing stuff. But you'd have Spider-Man in the MCU for whenever you needed him.
Right.
For whatever reason, just like now we can utilize Doctor Strange whenever we want. And as soon as they're introduced, we can use Wolverine wherever we want. We can use Reed Richards wherever we need to. Throw him in wherever we want to. And now Marvel, with one movie, has fixed everything that was wrong with Andrew Garfield and fixed everything that was wrong with Tobey Maguire. Like those two franchises that ended on such a bad taste, they have easily just quickly fixed so that now Sony, you can do whatever you want to. You've got this character now forever because you can make you can make 3 Spider-Man movies a year if you want to. You can have a Tobey Maguire, an Andrew Garfield, and a Tom Holland version released simultaneously.
Right.
And they don't have to connect. They can just be on their own separate paths.
But see, in that same fell swoop, also Marvel has solidified that you're probably not going to get Spider-Man back for a long time.
Yeah, no, that's what I'm saying.
Not
Sony's got it forever.
Exactly.
So Sony, as far as Spider-Man is concerned, holds all the cinematic chips.
Correct.
Does it benefit Sony to continue to play with Disney?
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Yep.
And it benefits Disney also.
Sure.
But my whole point is just I think Disney, if they could have gotten the character back, but now they've fixed everything and they'll never get it back.
Correct.
I think for the moment it was the right thing because we got some fucking great stuff.
Sure.
Long term, though, because Sony can pull that plug at any point in time that they so choose, I'm concerned.
But I think that's how Marvel also ended this film of if Sony decides to pull that plug, it's okay. Like it's fine. And where they are currently in the MCU in terms of all of this multiverse stuff, it would be pretty damn easy for them to explain this Peter Parker not being here, or Spider-Man is no more, or we just don't talk about Spider-Man. You know, that kind of thing. Like they've set it up so well that they've given themselves, like, it's almost like they wrote themselves into a corner in terms of this deal with Sony of like, we have to be with Sony now. And now they've given themselves a pretty easy out in a multitude of ways of constructing it.
I just don't know that, like, going forward, though, for the fan, selfishly, I don't know. Like, it worries me that whenever we do need to reassemble the Avengers, whenever that is, in whatever circumstance that is, does that mean now Spider-Man is not going to be involved?
I think Sony is smart enough to realize it was Marvel who fixed all of this.
I hope so.
But in that same vein, because they own the character, now they can move on. And it's possible they could poach writers who worked on these things and do all that. It's totally possible. But the track record of Sony and Spider-Man, with the exception of Into the Spider-Verse, everything else has just been another Spider-Man.
Right.
So I don't know. It's going to be interesting to see where this particular character goes and how they're going to use it, because I think you're right. Marvel, you're not getting Spider-Man back. Not for a long
not
time.
now. Like, it's like if you wanted him back, the opportunity, I think, was there.
Absolutely.
Now
it's not there
you've
anymore.
fixed it, and it'll not in our lifetime.
See, though, the thing that is working against Sony is they don't have, like, yes, they own Spider-Man, so they have, like, the Spider-Man universe, but they don't have the expanse of everything else. There's really nowhere else for them to go except Spider-Man universe.
Right.
So that's the only thing that's kind of working against Sony in that case.
Sure. Like,
and real quick, I think that's the success of the Tom Holland Spider-Man is not only Tom Holland and Spider-Man, because they're not just Spider-Man stories. Because even Homecoming and Far From Home, your whole version of this Spider-Man is wrapped in Civil War. It starts there. So, like, your whole idea of who this Spider-Man is starts because Tony Stark sees something in this kid and goes to him.
Right.
That's why.
And I completely agree, but because of the way that they ended this movie too, it's like all that can be done.
Sure.
You know, nobody knows, and you know, I feel like that would be such a shame. Honestly, like I feel like it would be like such a shame to, you know, if in the next Doctor Strange movie, if it, you know, at least some portion of it has to happen in New York City.
Yeah.
For there not to be some sort of a reference to the Spider-Man or something, because like he's still Spider-Man. Like he's still the most popular comic book character.
Right.
So
we just don't know that Peter Parker.
yeah, we just don't know that he's Peter Parker now.
Right.
So you would still love to see them have references to Spider-Man. Well, all we do know is your made-up name.
Right. I don't know how you do it. I mean, because they know Spider-Man, but they don't know it's Peter.
Right.
So
like Spider-Man still exists.
Sure.
And everybody still knows that there's a Spider-Man, which, you know, that's a whole interesting thing too, of like just like how the finer details of that. Like does Stephen Strange still remember being with Spider-Man in outer space,
right,
fighting Thanos,
right,
and he just doesn't know that he's Peter Parker now?
But like that goes all the way back to Infinity War, where, you know, he introduces himself as Doctor Strange, and he's like, oh, so we're using our made up names now,
right?
Which is not his made up name; it's his actual name. But
right.
The point is, like, he remembers this conversation, but he doesn't remember the name.
Right, exactly.
So like,
that's what I'm saying. Like, oh no, I remember like fighting Thanos with Spider-Man, but I have no clue who he is.
Right. Okay. If
you say so.
Sure. It's gonna be interesting to see where they go.
Yep.
And I trust where they're going to
go. Did you see him not talking to her? I totally just assumed he would go back and like be like, hey, I'm Peter Parker. You helped me save the world. And like that's kind of like it would just kind of like pull out from that of them having the conversation. I did not see it going like.
I think he learned a lot. Like he grew up a lot in this movie.
No, for sure. I'm just saying like in the moment.
Oh.
I totally thought he was going to go in and recite the note and start to try to, you know, explain to them. I didn't see it as being like it was so subtle the way that she like revealed the Band-Aid and him being like,
what happened? Are you okay?
You got that because of me.
Yeah.
You're better off without me. Damn.
That's a superhero.
No joke.
Yeah.
No friggin' joke.
That's that self-sacrifice, like, and that's what I think your point of he became Spider-Man. He became Spider-Man. That might be the moment.
Like no credit to me, but like the person that I saw a video where they were saying that like they fooled us in thinking that we weren't going to get an origin story for this Spider-Man.
Yeah.
But in fact, this whole trilogy was just one big origin story for Spider-Man.
Yeah.
That you're totally right, because that's what it is.
Yep.
We didn't get with great power comes great responsibility until the very end.
Yep.
It was this whole thing was him becoming, now he is Spider-Man.
Oh, so good.
Brilliant. Again, it was just so much more than I anticipated and wanted it to be. But just the sheer fact that you gave me fucking Tobey Maguire.
Yeah.
You know,
you got did
me.
It well.
You got me.
Yeah. You got anything else?
I am sure I do, but we can stop here.
Okay. I mean, we could talk about Spider-Man for the next 6 hours.
You're not wrong.
Well, let's go see it and then come back and talk about it again.
Okay.
Okay. So we want to know your thoughts on Spider-Man No Way Home.
Yeah. Did you hate it? It's all right.
Fine.
5 out of 10.
Waste of $15.
Yeah. Should have waited for streaming.
What are your opinions on the film? Did you love it? Did you hate it? Did you think that there's anything that they left out?
Or who's your favorite Spider-Man?
Ooh.
Who do you want to see more of?
Yes.
Like, which one can you not wait to see return as Spider-Man? There's a heavy
And
pull.
why is it Andrew Garfield?
There's a heavy pull for Andrew Garfield.
Yeah.
And I don't disagree.
I totally want to see it.
I'm all there for it.
I totally want to see it.
Yeah.
Also, what do you think about the WhistlePig PiggyBack?
Yeah.
Because
how much do you love that?
And
is that better than Spider-Man No Way Home? 100% Rye. You better 100% love it because it's delicious.
If you haven't had it, literally, like, go to a big box liquor store because they all have them right now. It's probably on sale.
Yeah.
You can get in touch with us through email. That's drepandstone@gmail.com. You can also get in touch with us through social media.
It's always one word, Drep and Stone, DREP and Stone. Find us, like us, watch a video, leave a comment. Share it with a friend. Everybody loves it.
And if you want to support the podcast, you can rate us wherever it is you find great podcasts like this one. Stars, thumbs,
comments,
shares,
views,
all that good stuff.
Yeah.
You can also financially support the podcast through our Buy Me a Coffee page. We have it on there, Kyle, as Buy Us a Pint because, well, it's us. But it's buymeacoffee.com/drepandstone.
Yeah, buy us a dram.
Ooh. We should probably change that. Yeah. If you want to suggest a bottle that we should buy with your donation, let us know, and we will absolutely do that.
We will search it out,
and we'll review it and we'll rate it. We'll talk about it.
We ain't ashamed to go buy a bottle.
No, we're not. You know, honestly, Kyle, though, the best way to support the podcast is just tell someone how much you love Treppenstone.
You're not wrong.
If you're at the playground
And you see the multiverse version of yourself. And you shoot webs at each other, and you're like, holy crap, you're like me.
That's not where I was going.
Hey,
You heard of
Treppenstone?
Right. What I was going to say is if you're, taking your children to some sort of play date at the playground, this is teasing next week's episode.
And Dr. Octopus pops up.
What? Maybe.
No.
I mean, possibly.
I'm sorry, where were we going?
If you're at the playground with your children,
Yep.
and you're around like-minded adults,
Mm-hmm.
and it comes up in conversation that you listen to podcasts and they listen to podcasts, you should tell them about Treppenstone.
Right.
That's where I was going with all this.
I got you.
Yeah.
You look down, you see their kids on their device listening to Treppenstone.
No,
Like,
please.
hey, your kid's listening to
Like,
Treppenstone.
and then you should tell them to
Treppenstone?
stop because this
It's
is
not
not kid
appropriate.
appropriate.
It's not appropriate for the kid.
Correct. But they do have the internet, so there's that too.
Sure.
Right. Hey, buddy.
Hey, buddy.
May your glass overflow.
Your ass never show. Cheers, buddy.
Cheers. How do I look?
Spectacular.
Correct answer.
Gonna lean on you hard.
Lean on me. No wonder I'm so sober.
I can take a full pour.
My ass is not grassy.
Fair enough.
Thanks.
Pickled rye.
Look at the buttholes.
Yeah, why do they have bottles? Smooth.
Like butter.
Some more rye whiskey.
Have some more whiskey. Just get a little sniffy sniff and a little sippy sip. I'm still looking for a bottle of 114.
Should have packed that bag, man. Grabbed 6 of them. You growling over there?
Yeah, I am. I'll say that so I don't sound like an idiot. So, like, Spider-Man coming home somewhere.
Spider pig.
Why is that?
Got bit by a radioactive pig.
Cheers, buddy.
Cheers.
Wait.
Yep.
You and I both know what that means. But just in case, just for fun. Go ahead.
Spider cheers. Organic web cheers.